Alright guys, so today we're doing this Cadillac STS. It's a rear wheel drive. We are replacing the diff bushing on this one because, as you can see, I don't know how well it shows in video, but that bushing right here, the one that goes through here, is just lifting the front of that pinion section up. And you're hearing that clunking once, like let's say if you're in park and you put it in a drive, that's what's happening. That front end is just coming up. So first thing you want to do is you want to pop the axles out. That was a pain on this one. You could drain the fluid first. I would actually recommend that. So there is a 10 millimeter here. Also make sure if you could get the fill plug out first. That's this one here. It's always good to get the fill plug open before you take the drain out. So if this one sees, you don't screw yourself, shoot yourself in the foot. Anyways, go into, like, let's say the knuckle. I got it off already. The only things you should remove wire-wise is the ABS connector. I left my e-brake on. I didn't have to screw with that spring there, so made life a little bit easier. The caliper I took off and I just hung up somewhere. There she is, she's hiding right there. Right there is where I hit the caliper, so it's just zip tied out of the way, that way you're not stressing the brake line. There's plenty of slack on the e-brake cable, so we left the end link on, and that's holding the coil spring in. We took off the 21 mil bolts everywhere, so the shock had a through bolt, the nut snapped off on me, so the nut's supposed to be welded on the shock, and then you're just supposed to only undo the bolt, but that came off. The control arm is a 21 mil, that came off. The radius arm is a 21 mil as well, that came off. And then there's this toe arm. This one goes into that hole here, so this thing's a 21 mil. That's the one that has a threaded adjuster for the rear toe alignment. This thing has a little bit of a snout right here. So once you undo the bolt, I had to hit it, just tap with a hammer here, and then pry it this way for it to pop out of its bore. And you can see all that white corrosion inside there, all that aluminum. So that should be, when I go to reinstall, I should sand that and clear it up. Total bolts that came off for the axle, I got the two caliper bolts, these guys here. 1, 2, 3, that's for the suspension arms. There's also the shock bolt as well. My nut, remember, like I said, the weld snapped off, so that one as well. And then the hub nut, this one I think I use a 36 mil. That's for the one that goes center of the axle hole. Next up, we had to take off the whole exhaust, which was a pain. The rear was just hangers, and the front was for this focus. Two 13 mils here, and then two 13 mils there. The O2 sensors just disconnect pretty easily. Pull the tab and pop it out. 1, 2, and then the exhaust is heavy, like super heavy. I had to use a transjack, a toolbox, and had to fight with it.
Alright, so you can see in this clip we're going to be doing the drive shaft, so I put a paint mark on the drive shaft, the flange, and then on the pinion side up there as well. And on this slide you can see that I undid the nuts, so I'll circle them here. So there's 3 nuts. What you might have to do is put the vehicle in neutral just to get all of them. I think they're 18 mil and 18 mil, so undo the nuts and just slide the bolts back. You won't be able to get them out of the way because they're going to be touching the differential, but just undo the nuts and you should be good.
Alright, so I got the diff out. I'll show you. I took out these 18 mil bolts. I left these ones in. What you have to do is you got to separate the drive shaft here, and then it's got that much of slip. That much slip, it needs to slide out. So once I undid the 21 mil, use a shallow for these ones. And this is a 21 mil bolt and nut. I had to drop this axle down, but it was held right here on the subframe. So you have to push this one, pry it a little bit this way and then down. So once it clears here, it goes down. Once you have it down like that much, then you gotta get the drive shaft slid out. So once it's down this much and it clears the subframe, you gotta pull the differential that way. Once that's loose and the drive shaft's loose, smooth sailing, you'll able to get to the bushing. This bushing is pretty good. I mean, pretty shot. What I'm gonna do is just gonna, well, I didn't even need to push it out, just pulled right out. That's the first time I actually took this apart, boys. And then we just have the sleeve. So with the sleeve, what you can, some people do, they cut it and then use a chisel and a punch. I'm just gonna lube this up, and then I'm gonna just hit it with my air hammer. Maybe try to grab it from this lip, maybe crush it in on itself. I'll see. I'm gonna do that off camera. So here is the old bushing, just kind of air hammered it out. I use a flat end just to bend it inside, and then use a blunt end. If I had more time, I would just probably end up cutting it in the center. Might have been easier. There's the new bushing. It's gonna go this way. See where I put the red dot? See how it's ovaled and stuff too. So I made a red line, and I'm going to push it in like that. So that's how it's going to be looking. All right, I got the bushing pressed in. It was easier than I thought it would be. It lined up pretty easy. What I did is I started off with a hammer. I was going to use my ball joint press, but it wouldn't clear this in right here. So what I did is I just started it with a hammer, and I use this lip, and see how this is dished. That way we press on the outside and not on the inner. So this thing worked perfect just to start it. Once it started, I drove it home just slowly and evenly, just light pressure. So a long barrel air hammer was definitely the key. What I did is I did it on the parts that had this extra material. So here and here, and it was just light pressure, just a little bit here, and it pulled in super, super easy. The trick is you use a lot of Vaseline or grease, do the bushing end, and then do the diff. As you can see, it's just Vaseline pushing out here. But there you go, and installed bushing. So now you gotta do the hard part, throw everything back in there, and you should be done. So thank you.
Alright, thank you for watching this video. If it helped you, please, if you can, leave a like before you leave. I would appreciate that. It helps get this video out and helps the next person in line, whoever searches for this, get recommended this video. So if you can, leave a like. I would appreciate it. If you like my content, feel free to subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys. And leave a comment down below if I helped you, or if you found a better way or another way to help somebody else out with the same process. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.